to a brand new series of In Pit Lane here on Channel 31 Melbourne at the new later time of 9:30 every Thursday night. Also In Pit Lane extended version with special bonus content on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, and you can see that as well. Make sure you like and subscribe. More about that later. But joining me once again as we're back again for another season of In Pit Lane, and joining us here in the studio here at Grand Prix City Melbourne at RMIT is my co-host Mr. Craig Doc Gladigo. Doc, welcome back.
Thanks, Brett. Great to see you, and even better to see you viewers. It's been a great start to the year so far. Motorsport everywhere, Formula One's overseas.
Don't crawl to them.
Formula One's overseas, but even more importantly, locally you can go and see your favourite stuff. And we went to Rob Roy on the weekend, but coming up this weekend, Brett, what have we got?
Yeah, Phillip Island coming up this weekend, and we'll have more of that later on in the program. Joining us, our special guest will be Andrew McCarthy. He's driving a really fascinating car. It's called the Moor. If you're sort of my generation, you probably grew up watching, sort of having a look at photos of the Moor in Formula 2 racing in Europe. Well, there's going to be one. In fact, I think there's going to be two at Phillip Island this weekend. Also joining us a little bit later, we're going to have some live music in the studio with our special guest, Rachel Parkinson. But as you say, look, it has been a really busy month for lovers of historic racing. This weekend sees the Southern Hemisphere's largest historic race meeting, the annual Phillip Island Classic. The event's attracted its largest field in years, including the long-awaited return of the New Zealand Formula 5000 contingent, as well as a number of famous McLaren cars to celebrate that marque's 50th anniversary. The following week's attention, it moves to the Adelaide Motorsport Festival with a number of classic Formula cars and highlighted by the return of the very popular honorary Aussie Valtteri Bottas. But the celebration of all things motorsport kicked off last weekend with the second running of the Rob Roy Revival. The second running of the annual Rob Roy Revival shows just how far this event has come in such a relatively short time. A diverse range of cars representing local hill climbing throughout the ages was on hand, alongside a crowd of interestingly dressed enthusiasts taking advantage of the cool but dry weather at the venue 1 hour northeast of Melbourne. There was no shortage of variety on the track, with everything from your classic and stock standard MG through to monsters like this, the twin-engined Eldred Norman Special replica of Darren Visser.
I was quite inspired by a story of a gentleman called Eldred Norman. 1946, after the war, he was acquiring surplus military equipment. He had an idea to build a race car using a Dodge weapons carrier chassis, 2 Ford Mercury engines. And he built this car within a 2-year period after World War II. In 1949, he drove it to Melbourne, raced it at Fisherman's Bend on a 2-day event, and then drove it to Rob Roy on the Cup Day of 1949 and competed here, did a 31.18 second run, and then drove it home again back to South Australia. It was quite an inspiration. I had a few guys that were helping me with the car. And Rob Roy Revival came up a year ago last year, which I felt was the appropriate debut for the car. I then took the car here. It did steal the show, and today's event, we're going to be running the car up the hill.
On track, the fastest time of the day was set by Darren Visser. Not in the Norman, but in this ridiculously fast motorcycle engine special, the Bait Cyclo, edging out Laurie Bennett in his ex-Gary Cooper Elfin. The Rob Roy Revival, which is based heavily on the famous Goodwood Revival in Great Britain, might only be in its early years, but it's already developing as a major event on Australia's already crowded historic racing scene. The MG Car Club has made several major improvements to the venue, including big screen TV coverage, helped out by the team here at In Pit Lane. The event might not have the international profile of the Phillip Island Historic Classic or the Adelaide Motorsport Festival, but nonetheless it has the potential to grow into something very special over the next few years. Speaking of special, In Pit Lane will have a special edition of the show coming up later in the year, featuring extended interviews and on-track action from this year's Rob Roy Revival.
The BBC has reported an investigation into allegations that FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem may have interfered in an outcome of a Formula One Grand Prix. Ooh, sounds pretty serious. According to a report by an FIA compliance officer to its ethics committee, bin Sulayem allegedly attempted to intervene in reversing a penalty for Fernando Alonso at last year's Saudi Grand Prix that restored his podium position. Alonso finished fourth in the Drivers' Championship last season, tied on points with Charles Leclerc, and 1 point ahead of Lando Norris. If the penalty in Saudi Arabia had not been rescinded, Alonso would have dropped to 6th place in the championship standings. Mr. Sulayem has denied any wrongdoing, of course.
The result in round 1 of the 2024 World Endurance Championship as Porsches took the first 3 places. The number 6 crew of Lawrence Van Thor, Kevin Estra and Andre Lotterer sealed the German manufacturer's first WEC win since 2017. Also taking the first ever win in the series for an IMSA LMDH car. There was late race heartbreak for the number 93 Peugeot 9X8, suffering a fuel problem on the penultimate lap while running in 2nd place in one of the team's best ever performances. It was a big weekend for Porsche as Manthey Pure Racing took the win in the new LMGT3 class. A scary moment at last weekend's Western Nationals at the Motorplex in Western Australia as top fuel racer Wayne Newby failed to pull up his car from a 500 km/h pass. Thankfully the car and track safety did its job, leaving Newby shaken but otherwise unhurt. Phil Reid took out the Top Fuel final with a close win over Phil Lamartina to move back into championship contention. Local hero John Zappia won in Top Door Slammer and Benny Stevens took out another win in Top Fuel Bike. And when the Victorian Motor Racing Championships return to Calder Park for their opening round next weekend, an unexpected feature will be round 1 of the Australian Drivers' Championship. The title, which was once the most prestigious prize in all Australian motorsport, will be run by the one-make Hyper Racers after Motorsport Australia failed to protect the famous series trademark. The move has angered many traditionalists, including several former title holders. And it's not just the Drivers' Championship that the artist formerly known as CAMS has now lost. Mountain Motorsports, the company that registered the Australian Drivers' Championship, has also taken ownership of the best known of all local championships, with the Australian Touring Car Championships now just awaiting a suitable new home. VMRC sanctioning body, the AASA, have been approached to appear on next week's In Pit Lane to talk about the series and, of course, the upcoming High-Tex Oil national event. However, unfortunately, so far they've not responded to our calls. Stay tuned and we'll hopefully have them on next week. But right now, we're going to take a break here on In Pit Lane. When we come back, we're going to be joined by our very special guest. He is Andrew McCarthy. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Back a bit.
Yes, and there's just wandering in front of the camera. There was our special guest this week, Andrew McCarthy. He'll be joining us in just a moment. Thank you once again, a huge thank you to our friends at Online Invent. They've come back on board. We were looking for sponsors, and we unfortunately just didn't find anybody to cover the whole amount. And Roy came back and said, "Look, you guys, I want to support you," and he's continued to support us, not just through Online Event, but also through motorsportarchive.org. And so thank you to Roy. And as I've said before, Online Invent. Well, Doc can testify to this. We were recently up at the Bathurst 12 Hour, and we were lucky enough. We were sitting alongside of Eve Hewitt and Shay Adam from Radio Le Mans, and Eve was doing the social media. And social media, it's a massive job just by itself. Look, if you've got a website and you're not sort of looking after it, and if you're not sort of giving it many hours of a daytime, you might as well not have it there, because ultimately it makes you and your company look pretty foolish. You go to some of these websites and you have a look, and This is true of hello to some of our supercar teams as well, who have websites that are probably 4 years out of date in some cases. So
They still have 2020 written on their books.
yeah, not really good enough when using. So you need to go to Online Invent. Talk to Roy and get him to sort of put together a program for you. Also, Roy got us out of a lot of trouble just recently. If you tried to contact us on the In-Bit lane, we had such a huge reaction from musical acts about the return of the series. The email just crashed one Sunday.
Was it the Russians or the Houthis, did we find out?
No, it was the musicians. It was the musos. And thank you to all of them for getting in touch as well, and you'll be seeing them over the weeks to come on In Pit Lane. But as I said, thank you so much to Online Invent for all of your support. Speaking of music, tonight's music is from Rachel Parkinson, a 6-time semi-finalist in the International Songwriting Competition. We don't know what international, but it's the International Songwriting Competition, and she must be pretty bloody good because she's been a semi-finalist 6 times. You can catch her at the Kew Courthouse on the 11th, and with her kids' band Little Feet Music every Wednesday at Middle Park Community Centre.
Kew Courthouse, isn't that one of your old haunts?
I'd rather no comment, Your Honour. And every Thursday at 10 a.m. at Chelsea Heights Community Centre. But right now, for our first song tonight, this is Rachel Parkinson with You Shine.
Doesn't seem so long ago, your tears would flow. I'd hold on to you, your temper raged. You spent your days smoking, drinking, hiding. She came along, you changed, now beautiful, but once deranged. She took your hand and led you far away from me, but loved you hard. She has made you shine. Mid-afternoon, you'd lie in bed, red-eyed, mind-fried, dread-eyed, so fresh, bright, your world's become. Now this woman's under your skin. Can you hear my cheers from here? You spin around, you're complete now. Hats up to this woman who persisted more than I could do. She has made you shine. She has made you shine. Yeah, has made you shine. Crazy little time we live in. Crazy little world. Crazy that it took you so long, took you so long, took you so long to shine.
Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, as we said, coming up this weekend down at Phillip Island is the biggest historic meeting in the Southern Hemisphere. It's the annual Phillip Island Historic Classic. Probably one of the biggest fields that we've seen in many, many years since the COVID mess struck there, and including a huge field of open wheelers. We did mention the Formula 5000 before, and they're incredibly popular, but there's some cars there that are, well, not just as fast. I mean, don't tell anybody, but some of them actually might be a little faster. One of them is going to be driven by our guest tonight. He is Andrew McCarthy. Andrew, welcome to In Pit Lane.
Thank you. Thanks, Brett. Good to see you again. And Doc, haven't seen you before, but it's good to meet you.
You too. Thank you very
Now,
much.
tell us about the car that you're driving on the weekend. As I said, it's a car that I remember seeing lots of photos of in Autosport as a teenager growing up, and thinking, oh, what a cool-looking car that is.
Magnificent.
And now we're actually seeing. Now, am I correct in saying that there will be two this weekend?
There'll be 2, maybe 3.
Ooh,
Wow.
How did they spring up?
Chassis 1 of the 1983 year was owned recently by a guy called John Lennon. Not the musician, of course.
I was going to say, that's not recent.
No. John Lennon Transport, actually, from Queensland. And he got chassis 1 of the 83 series. I have chassis 4 of the 82 series, which I believe is the quicker, because we had full ground effect, whereas it was banned at the end of 82 for Formula 2.
And that's the thing about this, the Moore, is it was a car that was, if you have a look at it, it's a very contemporary looking car, even by today's standard.
Yeah.
And it was, as you said, the ground effects, but it also had something special because we remember the Lotus 88 had the twin chassis, and that was quickly banned. But Willie Moore, they found sort of a way around that, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the
honeycomb monocoque, wasn't it?
aluminium sheet and aluminium honeycomb for the 81 car. I also had one of those, but and the 82 has carbon fibre, moulded carbon fibre, and also some longerons on the inside and the outside where my legs are and so forth. So a very stiff chassis, and probably quite groundbreaking. There was a talk that Frank Williams walked past a pit in Formula 1 testing down at Paul Ricard, and he saw my car, which was also testing there, and he said, "Oh, another carbon fibre Formula 1 car," but he didn't really look deep enough to see that it was actually a Formula 2 car. So yeah, I mean, ground effect was banned in 1980 for Formula 1, end of 81 for Formula 1, and basically Formula 2 continued on till the end of 82. Yeah, then they
Now,
were
what category are you racing? As we said, the Formula 5000's come out, and they've got from New Zealand. We've got a huge field. There's 20 of those, so they will have some of their own races. But what category are you racing in, and what sort of cars are you racing against? What else can we
the
say?
Formula 5000s will be in our event as well. There'll be a number of Formula 1 cars. There'll be a number of Formula 3000 cars, which came after Formula 2, thanks Bernie Ecclestone, with detuned DFE Cosworth engines in the back. But my car would be as quick, I think, as those, and probably knocking on the door of some. Imperial's knocking on the door of some of the F1 cars around certain tracks, because we continued ground effect till 82. F1 stopped, but if we
and you got a nice, beautifully resurfaced track at Phillip Island.
yeah,
as well.
it'll be
Very
aggressive on the
smooth.
tyres. So it's new track, so yeah, it'll wear the tyres a bit, I think. But
You've been racing since about 2007, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew. In these sorts of
I was in
these
England
sorts of
for a
cars.
while when I was a
Yeah,
kid,
yeah.
21, and I tried Formula Ford and Butcher's Picnic there, and then I did some Formula Ford 2000 races, which was much better, I felt, but I had no money and it was all over.
Which tell us a little bit of the difference, obviously, having such a space age thought after car at the time, early 80s, and now it's still regarded highly, to driving, say, some of the Rolts you were driving as well, though, too.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the feeling difference.
Yeah, well, the Rolts are very good cars. It's an 83 RT4. They were a customer car, really, and they'd fit big guys, and and everything was a bit bigger, and of course it was slower. 1.6 litre Cosworth Ford BDA in it, whereas Formula 2 is 2 litre and more unlimited, so you could have a different choice of tyre, and it was really, in the period, it was as relevant as F1 was as well. I mean, we got just the same amount of crowd. I wouldn't say the same size crowds, but very much so. And when Stefan Beloff came on the scene, who was the other driver of my sister car, mine was Beppe Gabbiani's car. The two of them were really leading lights in Formula 2. And Gabbiani missed the next year in 83 by, it was beaten by the Rolt.
I think they won about 4 races though as well, though, too, back in
Yeah, in 82 they won, yeah. They had a lot of mechanical issues, unfortunately. They had a couple of engine blow-ups.
It's a BMW engine.
It's a BMW M12-7, that's right, which was designed by Paul Roche. The block was a M10 from a 2002 BMW road car. So, and that was the same block they used in F1 turbo engines. So they ended up going 320 horsepower, 330 in Formula 2 to about 1200 horsepower in Formula 1.
I was just saying that before the show to Brett. I said, wonder when you make the turbo one at that stage. It was about that era as well, though, too, wasn't it?
That's right. And that's why that begat Formula 3000 too, because all of a sudden Bernie Ecclestone's left with all these redundant DFE Cosworth engines doing only about 520 horsepower. So he thought, well, cripes, I'll detune them and they'll put out 440 horsepower and I'll sell them to the Formula 2 guys. We'll call it Formula 3000. And so really Bernie stuffed the whole thing up, to be quite frank. So he was left with all these redundant engines which he owns. He had to do something. So that's what happened there. Yeah.
So to this weekend, with the how many races do you get? I mean, it's always a real. One of the problems of Phillip Island is always it is literally such a packed program.
Yeah.
How many races do you guys get? When can we see you? Where you race? I take it you're racing both Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. All things considered, all things being equal, I will. The big race is on the Sunday, I guess you'd say. The first race is really just a familiarisation, because they got to get everyone on the track at some stage and just cuts down the time. But yeah, we'll have probably about 5 or 6 lap races on Saturday, and then Sunday we'll have I think an 8 and a 12 lapper or something like that, which is probably the best we're going to get as well on the Sunday. Yeah.
Quick burning question is, are you going to go a little bit retrospective and use the penthouse livery?
Yes.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, and I even said a mate of mine's wife is going to be there, and I suggested she might like to have a bunny outfit on as well.
Oh, there you go.
Well, it's the wrong
Looking forward to
magazine,
that.
but I'm not complaining.
That's right.
Stay with us. We're going to take a break now here on Channel 31. When we come back, we'll have more with Andrew McCarthy. And to take us out, we've got music from Rachel Parkinson. Don't go away. This is In Pit Lane on Channel 31. We'll be right back. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube and live on Facebook at the moment, yes, look, I've got to be really honest about it.
You're right.
I was in a hurry, and I thought everyone's talking about AI, and I thought I will get AI.
Are you dabbling?
Yeah, I'm dabbling in the dark part of artificial intelligence. And ladies and gentlemen, this is, trust me, we've actually toned this down.
What have you done?
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to need your help in this. Because there are some sound effects which I haven't had time to add.
I'm scared.
Okay, so
he scares me all the time,
okay,
but I'm more scared than usual. All right.
Are you ready?
All right.
Okay,
I was born ready, but we'll see.
So it says start with upbeat music. So let's have some upbeat music. Rev up for your support for young local motorsport talent and the future of local TV.
Vroom, vroom.
Yes, join us in the fast lane with In Pit Lane, Australia's only prime-time free-to-air motorsport news and magazine show. Help us drive dreams. Donate via Patreon today.
Ding!
Thank you. Your support fuels the next generation of TV creators and spotlights local motor racing talent.
Vroom, 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 vroom. I'm getting...
So visit patreon.com, The Pit Crew, now and become a Pit Crew hero.
Woohoo! Woohoo!
Your donation makes the difference. In Pit Lane, where passion meets potential. Donate on Patreon today.
Jeez, I'm glad we don't get paid for
You're not
this.
finished yet.
Vroom, 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 vroom.
There you go. So anyway, that was brought to you by artificial intelligence. But seriously, thank you to the people who are supporting us on Patreon. We really do appreciate it. As you'll see at the start of our program, we have there is a special supporters package of our platinum supporters, and if you're a company or a club or something like that, and you want to get your logo or any detail on the program every single week, that's the way. It costs $25 a month, or you can spend as little as $4 a month. That's $1 a week. Surely we're worth $1 a week. Come on, be reasonable.
But those sound effects are not worth $1 a week.
Sound effects
I'll improve those. I'll upgrade it to $1.
Yeah, we can't. Look, that's the problem. We really can't afford proper sound effects. Don't worry, we won't be doing that one again. But anyway,
that was a bit of fun anyway.
It was.
Have a laugh at us, please.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. And a lot of those people who support us on Patreon also join us every Wednesday night at around 8:30 for our live discussion program, Full Course Yellow. Doc is with us, Pete is with us. We've got a whole bunch of people joining us. Mark Jones, Dave Stillwell, Richard Outram, a whole bunch of people who join us on a regular occasion, just to basically chew the fat, talk a bit about the week.
We go over some pretty juicy gossip as well sometimes.
Yeah,
there's some breaking news we catch up with sometimes, which we don't have to have time to do on the show because we're recording now live on a Tuesday night. So therefore, it goes to air on Thursday night, so we miss out. And there's 2 days worth of gossip sometimes worth out there. So please tune in, and
that's available on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. It's really important for the algorithm. If you don't know what the algorithm is, it doesn't matter. I have no idea what
get Roy's help.
Roy has explained to me what the algorithm means. It means absolutely sweet FA to me, but I know that it's called an algorithm, and it's bloody important apparently. So make sure you make it happy.
Well, that algorithm,
we're in big trouble.
That algorithm this week was announced. It's not going to be using free-to-air news anymore, and they're not going to pay the Australian outlets anymore, which is very controversial. Anyway, moving right along, we better get back to the show.
Poor Rupert Murdoch.
No. It's all the media outlets not getting paid. It's poor Meta because they can't afford it.
The only people who were actually getting paid were basically Rupert Murdoch.
Well, that's pretty typical anyway.
How do you choose a winner in that fight? Elon Musk and Rupert Murdoch.
He got pipped. Guess what? He's announced big breaking news. He's not the richest man in the world anymore as of today. Elon Musk gone. Jeff's back on top again. Breaking.
Oh, gee, well, that makes me feel good as well.
So,
hey, let's go back to Channel 31 and let's get this show on the road. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Our guest tonight is Andrew McCarthy. He's going to be competing this weekend at the Victorian Historic Racing Register's annual Phillip Island Historic. And yeah, you do a lot of historic racing. As we point out, it's a really crowded calendar at the moment. And I've seen online a lot of discussion that it's probably just becoming too crowded. What is the situation at the moment? I mean, are we killing the golden goose because it was growing and growing, and now you're seeing that some meetings the fields are going down a lot?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is generally the more cars you get on the track, the less laps you're going to get. They've got to squeeze everybody in, and so the laps get cut back. That's the disappointing thing, and they tend also to promote the sports cars, the tin tops as you call them, because there's also more of those, and everybody likes the Holds and Fords and so forth. But for us in open wheeler racing, the spectators, when they see them, they go, "Wow, that's fantastic!" But it's not to the front of the mind. We are a tin top car, Bathurst and all that sort of. We are a tin top racing.
You've just
nation.
put 5 years of a build into a beautiful looking piece of machinery, which we're going to really appreciate this weekend. We can't wait to see it.
That's right.
5+ years, plus all the, a lot of other people from New Zealand and Sydney and so forth. You're probably hugely grateful and thankful for it.
It's been fantastic. Yeah.
But what would be your outlay for this weekend that you need to obviously get your share of the pie down there? How much is it going to cost you just as an outlay for the weekend?
Well, the sunk cost on the car is, I haven't really calculated it, but as far as getting down there and racing, it's $1,000 for entry and transportation, accommodation for 4 days and so forth. It's not earth-shattering. We share with a few like-minded guys, so that's
certainly accommodation down there. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, as I said to a few people out at Rob Roy, I mean, traditionally for the past 20 odd years or more of doing the show, every year on Easter Tuesday we do a half-hour Phillip Island Historic Special. We can't do it this year. I mean, it really is, apart from the sponsorship, it is just way too expensive for us to go down there and spend 2 or 3 days down there. We're going to go down one day. You will be seeing some news highlights on the program next week. But in terms of doing the whole sort of half hour and features on different cars, interviews with different drivers, just can't do it anymore because we're not going to see any change from $2,000 or $3,000.
Well, that's the point. It is an expensive hobby, if you call it that. It's in my blood, so I just accept the fact.
Well, you're a stockbroker by trade anyway, so you know how to fund yourself.
Times are tough.
Yeah.
It's tough all the way along. It's never that easy to be honest.
No, I'm having a joke.
Everything's good. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is an expensive business. For me, I like to do 5 races a year. We used to do 5 or 7. And the calendar's cut back. A lot of people don't want to travel the distance just to do 4 or 5 11, 12 lap races. We used to get 18s and 16s and 14s and so forth.
Just quickly, because we have to wrap up fairly soon. Sorry. But one thing I would notice, and I've spoken with some people from overseas, particularly people in the United States and all that, and what's happening over there, is they're looking at this now. They're not looking at this as like racing anymore. They're just saying this is we're celebrating the history of these cars. We're taking them out. We're driving them fast. We're having fun with them. But they are now too damn valuable to race, and they're too damn dangerous to race. What's your opinion of that?
Well, I went to Imola 2019, and I was over. About 8 months ago, I was in Italy and so forth. Yeah, they do a lot of display races, displays effectively, and Imola's hysterical. They don't really race, and they just go out and they go as fast as they can. So there's not even a grid really, they just go out. And Patrizzi and all those guys were there, and it was fantastic. It was very funny. But we actually raced them as they were designed to race, and that's the difference. In England,
I remember at Laguna Seca, John Bow, made an incredible series of passes on the first lap and won the race, and was suddenly going, "Mr. Bow, please come to race control." And it was like, that was brilliant stuff. Don't ever do that again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, exactly right. I think we actually have you know, the racing we do when we're on track is full on. I mean, the cars can only operate properly at 9/10 to 10/10. Below that, you know, you're out of the rev
Especially with a
range.
ground effects car.
Yeah, well, ground effects has been maligned a bit actually. It was actually more of a political decision to do it. They wanted to. It was political. Realistically, the cars were good. Better back then, I think, as well. Yeah.
Listen, where can people find you down at Phillip Island on the weekend? If they head down there, where are you going to be stationed? If they come and see you?
Well, Simon Gardner has got an 83 model car, the one that I saw when I was at Silverstone back in 1983. I was hanging with Rolt and all those guys that time. We're in Garage 33.
Okay, well, if you're heading down on the weekend, heading to Garage 33, say hi to Andrew and have a look at his beautiful moor. I'll be certainly taking a very close look at it, whatever day we head on down there. I think it's going to be fairly hot on the weekend too. Andrew, thanks for coming in. I know you've got to get back and start getting stuck back into the car again to have it ready in time, but thanks for taking the time to join us this week on In Pit Lane.
Pleasure. Anytime.
And thank you to you at home for joining us. Thank you to all of our crew, everybody who's come back again. Really wonderful to see you. Also to our newcomers. I'm looking out. There's a sea of new faces behind camera 2, 3, and 4. We got new faces everywhere. And thank you very much to our RMI TV people who have jumped in and are keeping us on the air. So thank you. And if you're a member of RMI TV, or if you're not, if you're a student, join RMI TV and come and join us here on In Pit Lane. We need you. Speaking of
we love you.
We need music, and we've got music. Playing us out tonight is Rachel Parkinson, and she's playing all over the place. You can catch her at the Kew Courthouse on Thursday the 11th, and with her kids band Little Feet Music every Wednesday at Middle Park Community Centre and Thursdays at the Chelsea Height Community Centre. But to take us out now, this is Rachel Parkinson with Glad I Came. See you next week. Good night.
Of my own tears, I'm drunk and there's pain, but I can't find whose it is. You crept in to my head, my thoughts are dominated by you. My day passed behind me. I'm free, no one will find me. I'm nothing